The AIDS conference was an international event, and the mood on the site varied depending on where you were and what you did. The big plenaries, where the medical monarchy of the AIDS business revealed their latest theories, were stuffy, boring affairs, highlighted by slideshows and outbursts from community activists. Smaller workshops were cozier, less structured, and more useful, but it was impossible to take in all the good ones. When we toured the booth, we were showered with expensive freebies, courtesy of the international pharmaceutical companies, where we could smoke grass with the Dutch whores working with the red threads display. Our work was well received by representatives from the World Health Organization and many other national and international groups. We met the delegates from several other prostitutes' rights organizations. Coyote sent a handful of people who played up their image as sexual freedom fighters. They did not talk about prostitution as work, but instead argued for the liberation of the sexually oppressed, bafflegab to most of the working whores I've ever met. The organizations from Europe and the developing nations often discuss prostitution as work, and a pattern quickly developed. The poorer the delegate's home country, and the poorer the delegate as a consequence, the more she saw prostitution as labor issues. Whether prostitution laws contributed to the oppression of people's sexuality was irrelevant to women from Southeast Asia or South America, where prostitutes were sent to labor camps or executed for trying to earn a living. Karen and I got along well with the Dutch prostitutes. We spent a lot of time talking to them about their work. They told us that the biz in the Netherlands was far from perfect. Licensed brothels were owned by absentee landlords, and the women working in them had little say in how they were run. Women from developing nations were being brought into brothels because they'd work for smaller percentages. Prostitutes from Eastern Europe were flooding into the Netherlands, milking to make quick money, and the rent for the famous windows was too high, about 120 Canadian dollars for 8 hours. Despite these problems, Dutch prostitutes could still earn a decent living by working on their own, and they faced fewer legal or social hassles than prostitutes in Canada. There was no question that the Dutch pros considered prostitution a job, and apparently so did most Dutch non-prostitute men and women. In fact, I remember a few years ago there was a controversy in Germany where brothels were legal, where a woman became unemployed and was denied unemployment benefits because the brothel was hiring, even though this had not ever been her other profession. And so that actually changed the discussion in Canada at that time. I think that was around 2007. And, figures. Oh well. Anyways, that's the third Canadian novel I was able to pick up off the bookcase. And, well, that's less a novel and more of a non-fiction